Well, surprise, surprise, we're into another carp on the longer area at 100 yards, and I've changed hook baits on this particular rod to see if the fish like these as well, and they do. This is a gooed up hook bait, so it's one of the banoffee wafters from the high impact range, and I've basically soaked that in 2 different almond goos. So the first one is the Almond Supreme, which is very, very thin. And I'm using the new infuser pots to do that. Basically, you put a few baits in there. The pot's got like a tray within the pot. You put all the very thin goo over the top of it, and it is very thin. It eats into the bait very quickly. Squirt it all over it, leave it in the infuser, and you just shake it up every now and again. And what happens is the liquid falls through the gaps in the little tray inside and just leaves enough coated on the outside so it draws in, and you just keep shaking it over a few days, and more and more and more draws into it. And then when all that has completely disappeared, that Supreme, then you put the thicker one on, which is called Almond Power Smoke. And that will basically, it will eat in a little bit, but it won't eat in like the Supreme does. It will just sit on the outside, but it forms like a waxy sort of coating to the bait. Turns them bright pink, and what happens is the power smoke lets off like a stream of sort of pink almond scent, and then when that's all gone, then the Supreme starts flooding out of the bait like a normal flavour would. So you're using the Supreme like dousing your hook baits up in a bit more concentrated flavour. That's what the Supreme does, and then the power smoke gives you the attraction for the first couple of hours it's in the water. So whether you get a bite like I am now after a few hours, or it takes until the following morning, there's still some almond flooding out of it. And if you break the baits in half, after say a week, that almond has eaten all the way to the middle of the bait. So the white part, hardly anything remains. One of the other goos I'm definitely going to try is the Mystic Spice, which is like a lovely bun spicy smell. And that's sort of in between the two. It's not a Supreme, it's not as thick as a power smoke. It does eat into the bait, but it's a lovely, lovely bun spice smell, and that floods off a little bit of the bright green attraction. And I'll definitely be using those here as well. That's a brilliant one in the winter. So if you get some of the white mainline pop-ups, the milky toffees, and douse them up in that Mystic Spice, that is a fantastic bait for the winter time. Topping off a bottom bait like half and half, like a snowman, or I've been using them on hinge stiff rigs. Either those or the small white cell pop-ups that you get mixed with the pink ones. I've been doing those in the Mystic Spice, using those on hinge stiff rigs, and doing really well in the winter. So if you think of the goos almost like a concentrated flavour, you know, we all use high attract hook baits, and all the goo is for my sort of fishing anyway, is to give those hook baits something different, something extra. And obviously if all the goo washes away, you've still got the goodness of the hook bait underneath. But for boilie fishing, which is what I do most of the time, that is the way to apply the goo. And using those new infuser pots makes it so easy to get the right amount on the bait. You don't want them swimming in it, you just want the right amount, let that soak in, give them a shake up, and then let a little bit more soak in. And you can keep doing it over days, weeks, months if you want to, and it will just keep soaking in. And it's something that I definitely use in my fishing, both in France and at home. Come on, fella. You are mine. Nailed on the IQD as usual. Get in. Yeah. £26 on the button, this one, on the lovely almond goo. And it just shows you want to be mixing up your hook baits over your baited area. Keep 3 rods on the bait, 3 rigs identical to each other, and start changing the hook baits around, and then you really will see which one they prefer.